Assalamualaikum and welcome back to another video on SPSS. Today we'll be discussing hypothesis testing. We'll be getting an introduction to t-tests and when to use which t-test, and then we'll be performing the one sample t-test. So now the first step in any data-based analysis would be to formulate a hypothesis, which is an idea, and then to test that hypothesis with the appropriate test. And then after the test we have to interpret the results. As you might already be knowing, a hypothesis is an idea that needs to be tested. Here we have two hypotheses, the null hypothesis and the alternate hypothesis. The null hypothesis is basically the hypothesis that is being tested. It assumes that there is no significant difference between the given means and that there is no relationship between the given variables. But the alternate hypothesis, on the other hand, is an innovation, and it states that the given two means are different and that the variables are somehow related. For example, let's say we are to commercialize a drug for coronavirus. So we'll need two groups, the control group and the experimental group. The control group will not be given the drug and the experimental group will be administered the drug. Then we'll monitor the oxygen saturation levels of both the groups and then compare the means. Now in this case, our null hypothesis would state that there is no relationship between the drug and the oxygen saturation levels. So that would mean that there is no significant difference between the means of both the experimental and control groups, and so the drug is ineffective. So in the case that the drug is ineffective, the null hypothesis would be accepted, and in the case that the drug is effective, then the null hypothesis would be rejected and the innovation, which is the drug, would be accepted. Next, we have the critical value, which answers whether two means belong to the same distribution. It is a point beyond which the null hypothesis is rejected. T-score is compared with the critical value, and if it is smaller than the critical value, then the hypothesis is accepted. But if it is larger than the critical value, then the hypothesis is rejected. Now, the confidence interval is basically an estimate calculated from the data, and it specifies a range of possible values for the unknown parameter. And the level associated with it basically tells us how sure we are for estimate. Now, for biological data, the confidence interval cannot be more than 95%, or we would assume that the data is biased. And if we have 95% confidence interval, our chance of error would be 5%. So the difference between population and sample is really important. Suppose I were to measure the average height of the Pakistani population. The Pakistani population now would include every single person living in Pakistan, but it's not possible for me to measure the height of every single person. So instead, I will take a sample that is supposed to represent the whole population. So I can take individuals from Lahore, Islamabad, Gujranwala, Sialkot, etc., etc., and basically they will be considered to represent the entire population, but they won't be the entire population. They will just be a sample from the population. So we'll analyze the sample and then we'll make conclusions about the whole population. So of course, if the sample is supposed to represent the entire population, it should be random, and the bigger the sample, the better. And if it is random and it represents the population correctly, then we can say that it is not biased. It would be biased if, say, instead of taking individuals from different cities, I would just take them from one city and then call the mean value the average height of the Pakistani population. Then that would mean that the data is biased because the sampling was not done randomly, so it was not representative of the entire population. Finally, moving on to the t-test, it is a statistical test which basically gives evidence for or against a certain hypothesis, which is the null hypothesis. It basically compares two means and tells us whether there exists an actual difference between the two given means or whether the difference is merely due to chance. It assumes a normal distribution curve. Okay, so which t-test are you supposed to perform? That depends on what you need to find. So for our anti-corona drug, we can use the independent sample t-test because it compares the means for two groups, which in this case would be the experimental group and the control group. Now the pair t-test, what basically it does is it measures the mean of the same sample at different times. So like before and after. In this case, if we were going to test a drug, it would mean that the same group is serving as its own control group. Then we have the one sample t-test, which basically compares the mean of a sample against a known value or against the literature value. We also have the one-tailed and two-tailed test, which basically means the one-tailed test is going to tell us whether there exists a significant difference between the two means or not, and the two-tailed value will tell us which population has a higher mean, or which sample mean is significantly higher. Coming towards the performance of the one sample t-test, here we have 20 entries of Pakistani individuals and their monthly salaries. Let's suppose that the average monthly salary of a Pakistani individual is known to be 16,000 rupees. In this case, our null hypothesis, which is supposed to be the same as the known mean, because it states that there is no significant difference between the known mean and the sample mean. It should state that the average monthly salary for Pakistani individual is 16,000 rupees, and the alternate hypothesis would include everything else. So based on whether there is a significant difference between the two means or not, we will accept or reject our null hypothesis. Alright, now go to analyze, compare means, and then select the one sample t-test. Here we'll drag the salary in rupees into the text variable box. We'll put 16,000 in the test value box, and we'll go to options. We can see that the confidence interval percentage is set to 95%, so we press continue and we press OK to get the results. Here in the output window we have two tables, the descriptives table and the inferential table. In the descriptives table we have the total number of entries, 20, the mean, the standard deviation and the standard error of mean. As you might recall, I mentioned that the label would appear in the output, and here you can see the label instead of the variable name, which was monthly salary. Moving on to the inferential table, we have the t-score, the degrees of freedom, which is n minus 1, or the total number of entries minus 1, which makes it 19. Then we have the p-value, or the probability value, and the probability value is basically supposed to correspond with t at this degree of freedom. Then we have the mean difference and the range for the confidence interval. Well, now how will we tell if there is a significant difference between the sample mean and the known mean? There are actually three methods to do this. In the first method, we look at the t-score and we'll compare this score with the critical value present in the student's t-table. If the t-score is greater than the critical value, then we can say that the means are different, and if the t-score is smaller than the critical value, then we'll say that the means are not different. So let's compare them in the student's t-table. So in the two-tailed test at 0.05, at 19 degrees of freedom, the critical value is set to 2.09. Since our t value is obviously less than the critical value, we can say that there is no difference between the two means. Moving on to the second method, we look at the p-value, and most scientists and researchers, they set the p-value to of 0.05 or less would mean that there is a significant difference between the two means, and a p-value of greater than 0.05 would mean that there is no difference between the two means. As you can see here, p-value is equal to 0.764, which is obviously greater than 0.05, so we can say that there is no difference between the two means. Now for the third method, we look at the confidence interval. This is the lower value and this is the upper value. Now while testing the hypothesis, if the mean difference is equal to 0, that means that the number 0 is contained in or included in the confidence interval. So the lower value here is a minus value and the upper value is a positive 882. This obviously means that 0 lies within this range, so 0 is contained in or included in the confidence interval, which means that the two means are not different. Ultimately, all three methods told us the same thing, that the difference between the two main values is non-significant. So, our null hypothesis is accepted, and consequently, our alternate hypothesis is rejected. That's it for today. Do join us in the coming videos where we'll be discussing the independent sample t-test and the paired sample t-test. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment section, and thank you for watching.